It's time for the CollectionDX review, and I've got a bit of a twofer for you with the Su-27 Zhuravlik and the Su-37M2 Terminator. These are both from Volks's A3 line and represent a pair of tactical surface fighters from Muv-Luv alternative Total Eclipse. And these were released in 2008 as part of a limited run of the A3 line. I think these were like event exclusive, something like that. And they were used to cost 6,500 yen MSRP. And the reason I'm doing both of them at the same time is because, well, one is just a remold of the other one. And for most of this review, I will be focusing on the Su-27 because I actually bought it with the box, and it also has less stuff to fiddle with as you're moving it around. So yeah, A3 figures have really nice boxes. You know, I love these like heavy cardboard, well printed boxes. And yeah, totally says Zhuravlik there. I know that because I can read katakana. Anyways, before I get into these figures right here, I would like to say that if you're interested in this design and don't want to track down these weird Volks things, the Su-37 was part of the Revoltech line, so here it is, the little Revoltech. And these are about like 6 inches tall. This is about like 5.5 inches tall. So yeah, they're all kind of similar. They did make, of course, the regular purple UB Terminator in the Revoltech line, as well as the blue one. And yeah, they're a bit easier to track down and a lot cheaper. Also, Kotobukiya made a kit of the purple one, so that's also out there. Alright, so gonna take a little break and check out these figures. So like all the other A3 figures, these are nice solid PVC toys, and they're pretty good looking. I'm just gonna bring the Su-37 up to the camera so we can take a good look at it. You know, lots of paint work. It's all fairly cleanly applied. The eyes look pretty nice, especially, and there's a little tampographed Russian star on the shoulder. I think out of the all the different versions of this design, I do like the blue Terminator the best. It just kind of has that very authentic to real-life Russian airplane look to it. And again, this is supposed to be an alternate universe version where airplanes are robots. So, yeah, it looks pretty nice. It's got its big old jump units, the butt thrusters in the back, and these are the things that kind of make it hard to stand up unless you like fiddle with the legs so that they're kind of slightly apart, so he's kind of leaning forward a bit. But if you work on it, these guys aren't too hard to pose. So I'm actually going to take this one and put it down for now. And to show you the articulation, I'll focus on the Su-27 because it has fewer pointy bits on it. So before I get started, I'm going to take these off because this one right here, especially, actually, is it this one? Yeah, it's this one. So this is very loose, this jump unit here. You just really need to like either glue this on, just thicken the peg that connects it to the back of the skirt armor there. These are the earlier type. They just have a swivel joint like right here, and then another swivel joint like right at the base. So that's how those work, and this one's actually slightly in there a bit more. And like many of the figures, it does have little fill-in bits on the end for the kneecaps. So now this one is all ready to show off its articulation. So the head, it's got a little ball joint, and it can look left and right as far as the design will let it. You can see he's got very nice like bat ears, which are actually designed to look like the fins on the real airplane. Shoulders, they just kind of have a basic like swivel here connected to an A3 joint, and you can take this off very easily to show the A3 or A-lock joint, I should say, inside here. And this kind of moves a little bit. It doesn't really go a lot, but it can get like twisted a bit, so just be aware of its position. And as with all the A-lock joints, they actually have a click to them. How solid it is really depends on the figure. They're kind of inconsistent that way. The bicep has a swivel right here. It's actually kind of a little ball joint because that's how the shoulder pauldron moves right here is on a ball joint. There's a ball joint here for this kind of cover of the bicep, and so that actually moves out of the way as you use the swivel joint right here. The A-lock joints in the elbow do let you have a pretty deep bend, but you have to be careful because these parts can interfere with each other, so you kind of have to like bend the bottom a bit and sort of work them past each other. But yeah, you can see you can actually get this up fairly far if you work at it. You got a ball joint right here in the upper part of the chest and a swivel joint right here. You know, it all works pretty well for the most part. The wrists all peg in, so they just kind of have like a basic swivel right there. And for the lower body, there's a nice pair of the big A-lock joints that do the hips, but this uses the early type of skirt armor where in order to really get it to move, you actually have to like pop this thing out, and then you can start moving the leg around. You have to watch it for like this area here though, kind of like the extra fins on the crotch, but you know, these move pretty much all the way that they can, really just limited by the design. And the knees, they can actually bend a pretty fair amount. Again, really just kind of limited by the whole design. The feet, they actually bend backwards a lot more than they bend forwards because of this little thing right here. And they do actually, there's an ankle tilt right there, and also a slight, really actually pretty good ankle motion all the way around, so you can kind of like fake this a little bit just by like putting it like that to get it past the little point on the end there. So yeah, you can actually get this up pretty far even with the skirt armor in the way. So really what you're doing with these is you're like posing it first, trying to figure out where you want the legs to be, and then you stick the skirt armor back on, and you can actually move it up a little bit. It's supposed to rotate, but it's on like a squared off peg. It's a little slightly rounded and slightly squared off. It's sort of this weird nebulous area between the two. And so yeah, you kind of have to take it off, put it back on. And then you have to figure out how you can balance it with these things sticking off the back. But yeah, that's the articulation. Not too bad for a weird figure made by Volks, but you know, good for its time. And pretty dynamic looking. So I'm going to take a little cut and we're going to check out accessories. So for the accessories bit, I'm going to shift the focus back to the Su-37 because it has the best tolerances between all the pegs compared to the other figure. Alright, so it does have the usual swappable fists thing. And a cool thing about all of the right fists, or the right hands, is they're done in the lighter sort of sea green color because this actually matches the camouflage. All little camouflage splotches all over the figure. As far as standalone hands, you get fist, you get a splayed hand, and of course you get hands that hold the assault cannons. And you can see that, yeah, it does have the lighter sea green hand on there, so they didn't mess around when making this figure. You do get, of course, a pair of these, but I'm going to show you the typical Russian melee weapon, the chainsaw. So what you do is try to get your fingernail in on the white thing right here, and you just kind of work it out. And maybe you should actually like sand the peg down a little bit just so it comes out easier. So you just pop out the little white thing and stick on one of these big chainsaws and pop the fist back on. So yeah, that's kind of nice. You got a little chainsaw there for stabbing the beta with. And for mounting the assault cannons on the back here, as they're wont to do with these tactical surface fighters, you have to pop off these little covers here. And I found that toothpick works pretty good as far as like getting this off and doing without damaging the figure. So just pop off these things. They're very tiny, so be sure not to lose them. And you have both bear and assault cannon bearing mount pylons for the back. And they do this with a pair of pegs that just sort of go in and may require some extra work on your part to make sure that they fit right. This is kind of a common problem with these figures, and it's really just because they went with the double peg method because of how narrow this area is. So be careful with these, because I feel like they could break if you messed with it in the wrong direction. But it does look good, and you do get the full spread of stuff you can put on your Su-37. And if you happen to buy one of the limited edition figures, again like the M2, the blue version of the Su-37, or the Su-27, they actually come with stickers so that you can customize it more. And this is from the Su-27, and these are just, you know, a typical like clear sticky type decal, and but they're not pre-cut, so you have to do all the cutting yourself. And there's the very nice Tsar Battalion emblem right there. I guess it's for your Trapper Keeper or something. I'll tell you. I'm going to bring back the Su-27, put them both in shot, and here we go. We have Commander with their subordinate right there. Looking pretty good. So as far as getting one of these toys, I found the Su-27, despite being like a limited, I guess it was actually a shop exclusive, maybe? I don't know. It's all very weird. But these are kind of common. The blue Su-37 is harder to come by. The purple one is a bit easier to find. As far as price goes, I would kind of go, unless you're like a real big Muv-Luv fanatic, I would say like maybe 3,500 yen, 3,500 yen is a good price for these, because they are kind of weird collectible figures. Even though they're cool, but they're just sort of little primitive. I mean, as I've described them, they are kind of just like very upscale Revoltex. But I do think that the whole like Su-37, 27 design family, it's a good looking robot, so I want to have a very good representation for it on my shelves. Again, not that the Revoltec is bad, but it is kind of weirdly stylized and, you know, a little small. But yeah, still cool. This is Russia Strong right here. So anyway, this has been Andrew for CollectionDX.com, checking out more weird Muv-Luv toys.